Welcome back, YouTube pipe smokers. Mutton Chop Piper here. Well, today's video is entitled, I hate this tobacco. Now what do I do with it? Okay, so this video is kind of for everyone, but new pipe smokers and intermediate pipe smokers take stock in what I say, so that way it might it might show you a little bit better way of going about purchasing pipe tobacco. Now, pipe tobacco is well, it's like anything else, I guess. You really don't know until you try it. And the bad thing is that most brick and mortar stores now are not allowed to give you any samples due to the FDA deeming regulation. So you'll probably have to purchase a sample. The best idea that I have seen so far is from the Briar and the Burley in Bloomington, Indiana. The owner went to a lawyer and said, okay, how do I go about giving out samples? And so what he suggested is that he take an average price of tobacco, tin and the ones that he has in jars, take an average price, not the most expensive and not the least expensive, but an average between everything. And then fill a medium-sized bowl to the top like you would with pipe tobacco. And then dump that out, weigh it, and then take the whole can of tobacco, or 2 ounces of that tobacco, and weigh that. And then divide the amount of tobacco by that bowlful. So let's say that his average tobacco sale for either tobaccos that are in jars, house blends, or tin blends. Let's just say, I don't know how much it would be, but let's just say it's $10. So he would take the amount that it takes to fill up a tobacco bowl, take 2 ounces and find out exactly how many of those bowls are in that 2 ounces, and then divide that number by 10 into $10. Long story short, which is too late, I know that, he figured out that it was about 25 cents per sample. So that's what he charges. That way, if the FDA shows up and he's charging a penny or 5 cents or whatever, they don't come back to him and say, well, that's not what you're selling the 2 ounce bag or the 1.5 ounce tin for. So he did it to kind of cover his back, which I completely understand. But my point is, no longer you can't sample tobacco like you used to be able to do. So you go into a shop, brick and mortar, and you purchase a can of tobacco, a tin of tobacco, and you try it, and you're like, oh my God, this stuff is just horrible. I hate it. It doesn't have any taste, or it tastes sour, or something about it turns you off. So I'm going to give you some ideas that you can use to deal with this tobacco that you don't like. Okay, for the first thing I would suggest, the very first thing I would suggest, is that you take that tin of tobacco, or the tobacco that you bought, and you put it into a ball canning jar or a canning jar. It doesn't have to be necessarily ball, but a canning jar. And you put it away. Let it cellar for a year or two, and then go back to it. Sometimes a tobacco will, well, not sometimes, but most of the time, the tobacco taste will change due to fermentation. So, the tobacco that you hate straight out of the tin, once it gets a couple of years of age on it, and especially if it's got Virginia in it, it will ferment and it will smooth out, and the flavor will be increased a little bit. So maybe some of the flavor that turns you off may dissipate, and you can tolerate it, or you end up really liking it. So that's the first thing that you need to do. You need to make sure and take that tin of tobacco or that tobacco and put it into a canning jar and put it away for a couple of years. That would be my first suggestion. If you bring it back out and it's still just horrible, God, this stuff just stinks, then you can try the other suggestions I'm going to give you. The second suggestion is, if you have a friend of yours or a buddy who also smokes a pipe, or if you have a club, a pipe smoking club, then you can bring that tobacco with you and say, hey guys, this is a blend of tobacco I got and I really don't like it. So you can have as much of it as you want. You want to try it first, and then give it away to either a friend, or bring it to your pipe club meeting and let some people sample it, or let them take a baggie full home, or whatever. That way, at least something good came about it. The second thing is, or the third thing, I'm sorry, is if you have friends that live in other parts of the country. Now, this is specifically for people that live in the United States. I'll get to the European problem here in a minute. If you have someone that you know that smokes a pipe and you think might enjoy the blend, then contact them and say, hey man, I got some tobacco that I just doesn't agree with me. I don't like it. Would you like to have it? Most of the time they'll say yes. Now, if you don't listen to anything else about this video, please listen to this. You have got to make sure that the place that you are sending the tobacco does not have any rules or regulations against sending tobacco through the mail. I have a friend of mine, and in my opinion, he's a great tobacco blender. He lives in Florida. He blended some tobacco, and he decided to send some of his YouTube friends some samples to see what they thought of it. See if he should continue making it or make more of it. The next thing you know, he gets contacted by the post office, postal service. He had to call a number, so he calls the number. The individual on the other side said, well, sir, you sent tobacco through the mail and we consider that contraband. So, and I'm not quite sure about the amount that he was supposed to pay. I want to say $25,000. I think $25,000 per sample. So they said, we've caught you. We know who you are. You're going to have to pay $25,000 per blend. And he's like, well, look, I had no idea. I had no idea about this. I was not aware of, this situation. So the guy on the other side was at least halfway decent. He says, well, look, we're going to waive the fine. We're going to waive all the fines on you, but you are now on a national list of people to watch out for, to see if you send any more tobacco through the mail, and that's for any state. As far as I can recall, that's what he told me. I may be wrong, but I think that's what it is. He's on the national list where he can't send samples at all. So I live in Kentucky, and I was hoping he would send me some samples because everything that he's made is fantastic. But he said he didn't want to take the chance of sending me something and getting caught. So, as you can see, you've got to be very careful as to what state you send tobacco to, because it could be considered as contraband. So please, please, please make sure that you research it before you send somebody any tobacco that's out of state. Now, here's a European problem. Europeans, it depends on what country that you're from. I've gotten a lot of comments and I've seen a lot of videos about the guys over there, guys and girls over there, they take a big chance when they order tobacco online from outside of their home country. It has to come through customs, and sometimes it gets through without a hitch, but other times it gets through and it's discovered. And once it's discovered, I think I saw a video of a guy who said that he had to pay equivalent of $8,000 fine because the tobacco was discovered coming into the country. So it's Europe is worse than we are. Europe has gone through what we are going through now with the deeming regulations years ago. So you want to talk about someone who's dedicated to pipe smoking, you want to talk to a European, because now some countries, I think, like the Danish pipe company, I think it is, or the Danish pipe shop, I think the Danes are able to still smoke their pipes without a lot of regulation. Now, I'm not sure about that. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But I think England has heavy restrictions. Germany, I think, has heavy restrictions. There's several other countries. So, again, I'm not quite sure if you send something to someone in England and it's caught, if you don't get in trouble, you may get fined as well. So please be careful please be careful with that as well. Now, there's one thing that you must not do under any circumstances. Please don't throw it away. Don't buy a tin of tobacco and say, "Oh man, this stuff is horrible. I hate it. I'm just going to throw it away." I'd rather you cellar it for a couple of years and then check it out, and if it's still bad, then find somebody. Go to your brick and mortar. By then you should have some pipe smoking friends if you don't already. Pass it on to them. Say, "Hey, you might like this blend. I don't particularly like it, but you might." So, again, let's review. If you get a tobacco that you absolutely can't stand, first thing you need to do is cellar it for a couple of years and see if it changes. 2, if you don't want to do that, or if you have done that and it still tastes bad, either give it to a friend or bring it to a pipe smoking meeting, a meeting of your pipe smoker friends, and give them some samples of it. 3, make sure and check with your local post office to make sure that there's no restrictions on sending tobacco to a friend. If there's a friend that lives out of town, out of the state, you want to send him some tobacco, make sure first that there's no restrictions on sending that tobacco. And most important, absolutely do not throw any tobacco away. Somebody will take it. You can find someone that will take it and enjoy it. There may be people out there that just can't afford premium blends of tobacco. And those people would absolutely love for you to give them some premium tobacco. All right, well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Until my next video, I want to wish you and your family happy piping.